You guys ready? You guys ready for some ASMR? Oh, do you hear the bubbles? Is this what you expected? Am I the only one that's like a sucker for those bubble sounds? Welcome to another tier list. We're going to be tearing it up, as the Gen Z people say. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're going to be talking about some teachers. We're going to be having some fun with it. We're going to be doing some things. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a fun time. Hopefully everything goes well tonight, in that we don't have to take that many breaks. Last time we had to take way too many breaks. This week has been so much better, guys. This week has been good. We've been figuring out some stuff, and I think we have a solution for, some things that were going on with our son. Thank you for the prayers. I know a lot of you are still like, you're sending me emails and stuff, letting me know that you're praying, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, we might have to take a break. As soon as I say things are going well, I just look down. I just have numbers in front of me all the time. And, we might have to take a couple breaks. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But tonight, I'm feeling so good. And I thought it'd be just fun to do another one of these. Because even though last time I did it, it was so hectic and things were going on behind the scenes, it was a lot of fun for me. And a lot of you guys seem to have a blast with it. So I thought there was enough people that I missed the first time that I just didn't think about, and some of the people that you guys brought up, but also people that I should have had on that list that I just didn't think about in the moment. So we added them to this list. We've got 40 people, I think, or at least 40 organizations and people. We're going to mostly be focused on people, but we're going to be having some fun with that. Before we have fun, I do want to bring this up. Heidi is saying, "Hey, Odine, do you hear from Wendy?" Yes, I did hear from Wendy. Guys, be in prayer for Wendy. A lot of you guys know who Wendy is. She is a huge supporter of the channel, has been such, I know this sounds like the Christianese thing to say, but I really mean it. She has been such a blessing to me and to this channel, and just encouragement to keep moving forward with this thing. And she's been having a really rough time. She is okay. She's dealing with some health issues, and she did ask that I would let you guys know to be praying for her. She's going through a big transition, a lot of stress, and those health issues. So be in prayer for Wendy. She is okay. I just got an email from her today. Let me know some questions I had for her. She's doing all right. She needs the prayer, and she's going through a lot, but she's okay. So, and I know some of you guys are like, it's a small community here. We got a lot of people that we recognize coming into the chat, and we're having friendships and all of that. So I know some of you guys have been like, where's Wendy at? Where is she? And honestly, I was thinking that too. And I was so glad to see her hop into the chat in one of the streams. And then she emailed and let me know what was going on a little bit. And so just be in prayer for her. We all go through ups and downs in lives and different issues, and we can be there for each other. So be in prayer for Wendy. She would appreciate it. RJ is here and says, "Hey, hello." And the bunnies are hopping. The bunnies are hopping into the chat. They're just having a good old time. OG Baptist. Oh, Original Gangsta Baptist, 1969 or 1689. I don't know. 1969. That was a different year. I don't know why I went there. I know. 1689. At one point, I thought about getting a 1689 tattoo. And then I decided just to get this one. And I think this is probably the only tattoo I'll ever get. I don't know. I kind of want MXPX's head right here. Guys, I had a realization before we get going too far into this thing. I know some of you guys are like, get to the point, Lentini. But you know what? It's my channel, and I have fun. And I ramble on, and it's a good time for me. Okay. None of my kids are going to listen to me, so I might as well be on here. People might be interested. I had a realization the other day that Mike Herrera, who is the lead singer and bass player for MXPX, he does a lot of YouTube stuff. And I was talking with Heather. We were in bed, and just one of those, like, I just had a realization. I think I could get Mike Herrera on the channel. Like, I think there's a way for me to get MXPX, like the main guy. I love the other guys too. Yuri's hilarious. But I could get Mike Herrera on the show, I think. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's that far-fetched, and that's kind of crazy to me. I've never, like, I wanted Joe Thorne to come on the show. And then after that, I was just like, I don't know. Where do you go from here? You know, like, I like Joe Thorne a lot. And so it's just like, I don't really like all these other guys all that much. So, like, I want Aaron on the show. Aaron, if you're watching, I want you on the show at some point. I just, you know, one of these days, I'm going to fork out the dough to get the interview feature here in Ecamm, and I'll do some stuff. But I will fork down the money real fast if I could get Mike Herrera on the show. And I think he's gettable. I think he's attainable. I'm going to wait until we're like a little bit further down the line. Like we're getting close to like I don't know, like 5,000. Like maybe once we hit 5,000. But I think that would be like a whole bunch of fun. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be ranking some teachers. We're going to stop rambling, and we're going to get into this thing because we got 40 of these guys, and there's a few more than 40. But real quick before we do, well, let's ramble some more. Let's see. Oh, that's for someone else. Felicitations, doggos. What?
I steadfastly refuse.
Aaron, what you doing? You're just trying to be different, I know. But no. No, we're not doing felicitations. Oh, my goodness. Jamie's here and says hi. Star is here and prayers for Wendy. Yes, definitely be praying for her. And David is here. Good evening, family. Love y'all. Well, we appreciate you guys all being here. If you are here, there are already 26 of you guys hanging out. We have 7 likes. Guys, I really need it. I need it. I don't need a lot. I just need the like button. Just hit that like button. It really helps. I know a lot of you guys are like, I got you on the computer, and that's where it ends for, maybe I'll hop into the chat. But you're like, oh, likes and subs and different things. You're like, I don't care. Hit the like button. It really matters because that means that this video is going out. And there's going to be more people who's going to be able to come and hang out or just even get notified. Some of you guys have told me, like, you haven't even gotten notified when I go live. Now, part of that is just because I haven't announced it and I just like randomly go live because life has been chaos lately. But, yeah, hit the like button. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about these teachers. Let's head over here. We got it all set up. It's going to be some fun. All right. Although I'm realizing this is embarrassing. We gotta change things up. I can't just be full screen. Apparently, did not have that worked out well. Oh boy, let's go down this way. Let's go this way. Boom. I think that should be good. Now we can do it. All right, cool. All right, so let's start ranking some peoples and. Let me know. Let me know if there's anyone you're like, I want you to talk about this person. I want you to talk about this person and let me know what you think about this guy. Let's start off with my man, Ken Ham. Ken Ham? I'm putting him right off the bat in questionable. All right. He's definitely not gospel goat. Mostly because doesn't really talk a lot about the gospel. He wrote a book about making it relevant. Because we didn't know how to do that before Ken Ham wrote a book about making the gospel relevant. I noticed the switch there. I tweeted that out a while back. This was long before Underdog days. But I believe that the first edition of that book said making the gospel relevant. And now it's making salvation relevant. So after I threw some shade, and that actually got around a little bit. But I don't know if it was just me or if they just realized this is a bad title. But they decided to. So he's questionable for me, mostly because of affiliations. I never know where this guy is. All right. I have been like friends of friends who know this guy, and they have him speak at like the most fundy of churches imaginable. and he fits right in. And then he goes to G3 and he fits right in. And now he's hosting. Like, I don't know. All I'm saying is if Doug Wilson came to me and told me like, hey, you know what? I want to have, my party there. I want to have my conference there. We just really want to hang out at the Ark and talk about patriarchy. I don't think I would let him. I don't think I would let him. I think I would be like, no, you don't get to come here. We're not going to allow that. But Fight, Laugh, Feast, I think is going on even right now. And it's there. It's there at the Ark. And to me, that's extremely questionable. Now, his theology is just, this is going to sound really mean. And like some people are like, Dean, you're just a mean guy. I don't mean to sound mean. I don't mean to sound condescending. But I've literally never heard him talk about theology and go like, oh, that guy knows what he's talking about. Never have. Now, he's got arguments, sure. Like he's got arguments for creationism. And, he did the whole thing with Bill Nye. And I guess a lot of people enjoyed that. Not necessarily me, but other people did. And that's fine. That's dandy, whatever. But I don't really care about that kind of stuff. I care about theology. And it's just non-existent with him. So for me, I would just put him at questionable, mostly because I have literally no idea what this guy thinks. Not about anything that like really matters. I mean, like I know what he thinks about certain aspects of creationism, but like that doesn't answer big questions for me. So like I am a creationist, 7-day literal creationist. So don't come at me. All you people who are like, oh, you're just one of those guys. No, I'm not. I fit in the same camp as him. And like, but I just don't care about his arguments for that because I already know where I stand on those things. And I've literally never heard him talk about theology that's not about that. And that's kind of troubling when you think about the fact that this guy has so much influence over evangelicalism. Not to get too into the weeds about it, but the Answers in Genesis curriculum is everywhere. And he's the leader of all of it. Now, sure, he hires it out for people and he has writers and I'm sure in-house theologians and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think I would put him any lower based. Like, I don't know what else is out there. If he's ever said anything, let me know. But I know I'm not going to put him higher. I feel like I'm being generous to him. Putting him in questionable, but it's just like all he does is talk about creationism and he's built an empire off of that thing. And maybe there's like way too much commercialism as a part of that, but whatever. I don't think he's doing too much damage, but let me know if I'm wrong about that. Let's go with Eric Mason, who is the writer of The Woke Church. I said it. I can't believe it. The Woke Church. He's the guy. He came up with it all on his own. No, he didn't come up with it on his own. But he wrote the book. It's not a great book. I would say that I agree with a lot of his conclusions. I've said this before. His hermeneutics are spotty at best. He's a smart guy. Every time I've heard him talk, I'm like, this guy is pretty intelligent, knows his stuff about things. That being said, his hermeneutical approach is very troubling to me, so I definitely can't recommend him. And then there's also some stuff like back in the day, he was one of the main guys with the Resurgence, and there were some articles that he wrote back in the day with the Resurgence that are like, what? We all write dumb stuff. We put dumb stuff on the internet, but it's just like, so for me, I'm going to leave him there too. I'm going to leave him in questionable. Definitely can't recommend him. I don't think he's dangerous. I know everyone in their super conservative channels and Twitter accounts, they're always being like, Eric Mason is the worst. I don't think he's the worst. I think that his hermeneutics are kind of spotty. But overall, I like where he lands on things, but I just can't recommend someone that I can't trust their hermeneutics. So, he's not going to go any higher on the list for me, but maybe for you, he does. Let's go with Rick Warren, Gospel Goat. Should we do it? Wouldn't that be great? Oh, I wish I could. just just to mess with people. Oh, that'd be gold. We're not going to do that. Rick Warren is a hard figure because I think everyone hates him just because he's popular. And you don't want to just hate someone because they have a lot of success. And you don't want to hate people, period. But you don't want to just be like totally against someone and oppositional toward them just because they're a popular figure. That being said, he got popular off of some troubling church methodology, you know? Like he is like the father of the seeker sensitive movement. I know that people go to like what is his name? Robert Schuller, the guy with the Crystal Cathedral. Let me know. I don't remember. People go to him, but I think he popularized it. You know, we got some kids at home. You know, they're supposed to be in bed as always, guys. Never happens. But it's all right. We could hear him. I can hear him. Hopefully you can't with the microphone. But I turned down the gain, so hopefully you can't. All right. So for Ricky, I don't know where to put him. I like him more than probably a lot of people in my camp. I don't think he's like this huge danger. Some people will put him up there as like, he's the guy that ruined church for the 21st century. Like, come on, a little dramatic. Like there's also some questionable stuff about abuse. Like there were a couple cases that I don't think he handled all that well. I can't put him in I want to because he seems like a nice guy, but he's a little. You know what? I'm going to put him lower. I'm going to put him dangerous, and the reason why is because of his methodology for church. You know, he views the church as like the route of evangelism, and I don't view the church that way. Now, maybe you do, but I view the church as being for Christians, like for the community of Christ. And when you have that kind of a difference, like you can get into some messed up stuff. And I don't know if he's done that or not. I haven't looked too deep into him other than I had to read, you know, that the purpose-driven church, not life, but the purpose-driven church for, you know, some seminary stuff and basically pointing our fingers and laughing at him. Like that's kind of how it felt. I didn't laugh, but it seemed like it was just like, let's rip this book apart. And I'm like, this is what we do in seminary? Apparently so. So there's that. But I can't recommend him, and I think he's a little bit more liberal than just questionable for me. All right. Let's see. What are you guys saying? What are you guys saying? Let's see what you guys are saying. If DW came saying he liked my theology, I'd do some serious self-reflection. Yeah. Heidi says that she put Ken Ham in used car salesman. Oh, and a drinking game. When Dean tweaks his design on screen, take a drink. Don't do that. That's called drunkenness, and don't do it. For me, because I'm a good Christian, I just have some Pepsi, some zero Pepsi. Is that what it's called? I don't drink Pepsi. It's Coke Zero, but it sounds wrong saying Pepsi Zero, right? What do you call it? It's just wild cherry Pepsi with zero sugar. We've gone full no sugar for a lot of things in our house because of diabetes with one of our kids. So that's how that's rolling tonight. We're not. This isn't the olive. I'm a good Christian today. All right, Judah Smith. Let's put him up here. All right, I'm gonna put him here. I'm putting him at used car salesman. And let me explain a little bit about my background with Judah Smith. I've said this before. Judah Smith preached a sermon that literally changed my life. All right. Like, I don't want to undersell how influential this guy was in my life. He wasn't my pastor. I didn't go to City Church. I had one of my friends did. His family was very involved there. And, you know, he goes to youth group there. Judah Smith is the youth pastor. And that sermon, Dating Delilah, which is kind of how he got famous, he wrote his first book off of it. But I listened to that sermon. I used to listen to so many Judah Smith sermons back in the day in high school because I was a dweeb who just listened to sermons all the time. And he was great. And it was such like, it felt so freeing to listen to sermons like his compared to my church, um, which was very conservative, IFB kind of deal. Even though there was some reformed theology in the church, it was still very much an IFB church. And so it felt so freeing to hear someone talk like he did during, these youth group sermons. And he preached that dating Delilah. And one of his things is about like fleeing sexual immorality. And as a young guy, like, yes, there's like the purity culture stuff that goes like way too far. But also as a young guy, I needed to hear that. And it was a very influential sermon in my life at an age that I really needed someone to talk to me in that way. Because no one else around me certainly wasn't going to get it from my parents. Definitely not going to get it from people in the church. So like I needed that, and God used him in that moment. And I'm always going to be thankful for that. That being said, ever since then, it became clear, as he got more and more popular as like this youth group pastor, he started speaking and doing bigger things, and all of a sudden his dad was retiring. And so it was his turn, right, to take over, him and his wife's turn to take over. Sorry, Pam. But, like they're taking over. And like I saw the turn, and he went from looking really normal to all of a sudden like doing like the celebrity thing. And it's still kind of shocking to see Judah Smith like when he's on stage doing stuff, because like even though I didn't go to that church, I listened to so much of his stuff and I watched video of his stuff, and it's just like shocking. And I know that's not him. Like at least like that turn that he had, that wasn't him. Like that was him trying to market himself and become something that could sell more. And it worked. He's all over the place still, even with different things that are going on with his, like, is city church even a thing? I haven't been back to Seattle in a long time, but is city church even a thing, or did they fold everything into home church or whatever and doing everything online? Regardless, that's how he's marketed himself. He is like the home church guy. He is just a person on a screen and sometimes at a conference. And I think that he sold out. He used to be like a really intelligent guy, and then you watch him on stage and he's really trying to not seem that intelligent. Like it's shocking, even that. Like, they're like, this is like the reason why Joel Webbin and his voice change is so concerning to me is partly because of what Judah Smith did with his voice and how he even articulates himself. He changed everything. Guys, back in the day, he sounded so intelligent. And now he goes up on stage and he's like sitting there kind of odd, trying to do like the Gen Z stuff. And he's like way too old for that. This guy is like a decade older than me. And he's sitting there, doing his Gen Z like gimmick. And he's sounding like Gen Z people today. And like 20 years ago, I was listening to his sermons and he sounded like, he was really trying to be like a Pentecostal scholar. And, maybe not someone who went to seminary necessarily, but, he was very intelligent in his sermons, and you just don't see that anymore. Now it's all about like these little quick things of, just, giving some kind of like poem thing to get people to remember something. It's not the same. He's a very different person. So I think he kind of sold out on some things. Let's see. Channel E says the entire Fight Laugh Feast folks are either dangerous or used car salesmen. Yeah. We'll get into a few more of them. That's a very high Ken Ham ranking. Is it? What's so dangerous about Ken Ham? Like, I can make fun of Ken Ham, obviously. Like, I could tease. But is there anything like dangerous about his stuff? Like dumb, I think. Like, dumb maybe is too strong a word. But like just superficial, sure. But let me know if there's something specific. Pam is here. Mason is cool enough. Some questionable scriptural acrobatics to get to a good place. And yeah, that's pretty much what I think. Looking at some of these people coming up, I think that Dean needs to make a separate category for Karen. Just saying. What's up? Hey, Dylan. Glad you're here too. Okay, I've never heard of Mason. He's the guy who did the Woke Church book, the big yellow. Well, it's actually a very small book. It's like 100 pages. But the yellow book, Woke Church on it, and everybody gets mad about it, even though they probably didn't read it. Shana Lee says, yep, about Rick Warren. I have problems with any pastor who thinks it's fine to have a church that big. Yeah. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I don't think you're a pastor if you have a congregation that big, because you can't actually pastor them. You are a pastor to a staff. That's probably who you pastor. You're not a pastor to an actual congregation. I don't know why I said congregation. So weird, but that's what happened. Heidi on the thumbnail. What is that on the thumbnail? Dylan jumping from 90s slang to upper crust decorum since 1993. That's great. That's great. Good evening, Aaron. Yeah. Let's see. RJ says, the thing I respect about Warren is he has a church that has sent thousands of missionaries all over the world. Yes. That's true. Yeah. That is respectable. Sure. I'll bet Judah was refreshing compared to Fundy's. I feel you. Yeah, he definitely was. And again, God used him. I think he's a complete sellout. But God definitely used him in my life. His word never comes back void, regardless of who says it, right? Dylan says, I used to listen to sermon jams, and one of the best sermon jams I have ever heard was a Judah Smith clip. I could see that working really well. Marketing in the church should never have started dating. Not a good match. Agreed. Roland is here. Hey. Austin says Eric Mason, what is questionable about him? Go back about 10 minutes, bud. Ken Ham puts creation at the level of the gospel. If you don't agree, are you a good Christian? That is at least dangerous to me. That's a strong point. Oh, you're making me rethink that. Yeah, that is something he said recently, right? He was saying atheists, or not atheists, Freudian slip, but evolutionists, they can be Christians. He did say that, that they can be, but are they actually? It's kind of how it came out. That's he's very much on the line. You know what? We ain't gonna mess around. We can just shift him down a little bit. That's fine. We can work with these things. All right. Let's go with Greg Laurie. I'm going to get every reform guy mad at me. I'm putting Greg Laurie at real good. I don't want to hear it. My mom got saved through his ministry. I grew up listening to Greg Laurie's sermons. He might not preach an exegetical, perfect sermon, but he gets the point of the passage, or he gets it. And you might be like, oh, his affiliations. I'm not going to do that. This guy, thousands of people got saved through his ministry, are continuing to get saved through his ministry. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the style of it and these crusades and doing the Billy Graham thing. Not a fan of that. But you cannot deny that God has used him. And I know he's used him in my life and in my mom's life. And so don't come at me. I'm keeping him in real good. I don't care what you say. I don't care. I do care, but I'm going to keep him there. Old earth Christians just aren't enough. Oh man. This is going to become the same thing as West Virginia. It's almost there where it's I want to start singing it. Oh, I cannot wait. I still haven't bought Barbie, but I need to, just so that I can record the sound effects and get them in here. Oh, so many good ones. Who got more people saved, Laurie or Warren? Jesus got them saved. Jeremy, coming in here with your weak sauce theology. I said God used him. God used him. Also, Rick Warren, it cannot be calculated. All right, we tried to do the math. Did you not know that he has personally trained 500,000 pastors? Did you not know that each one of those 500,000 pastors had another 100,000 disciples? The whole world is Christian because of Rick Warren. I know what you're doing. I haven't yet either, Heidi. We should go together. What I haven't watched yet. Gonna next week. What is it? What are you gonna watch? Oh, Barbie. You guys should go together. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. All right. That is gonna get clipped up. Here we go. Why is the MD logo here? Guys, drinking game. Why didn't you let me know? This isn't movie, Dean. This is the big one. This is the one that matters. Okay. Voddie Baucham. Oh, Voddie. Where should I put you? I know where everyone wants me to put him. You either want him down here or you want him up here. He's definitely not gospel goat for me. I got to be honest. I don't know why he's so beloved. I really don't. Like, he's an okay pastor, or okay preacher. He's got funny jokes. I think that's probably it. I think a lot of people, they judge their sermons a lot more on like whether they're entertained than they really think about it. Like, they would never, like, people who love Voddie Baucham would be like, I've never been entertained by a sermon in my entire life. No, I have been inspired by the Holy Spirit. they'll go that route. So they would not be like, oh, he's entertaining. But I think he gets by on a lot of humor. And for me, a lot of times that humor just doesn't land. It's so subjective, right? The text, I would have said about like a decade ago, like that, he usually gets it right. But lately, he's just put everything woke into every verse. I mean, he went to Doug Wilson's conference, his missions conference, and talked about like winning the world for Christ. And it just became about like education, the Christian education. And like the verses that he was using, it didn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with evangelism. And for some reason, he was just like, this means Christian education. So for me, I'm going to put him in dangerous for the reason of his affiliations. Like, I'm not going to just use affiliations, but given the way he now twists scripture, and he does twist scripture to fit in all like this cultural stuff into what he wants to talk about. He does it. Listen to some of these conferences. Maybe you're like, oh, like his actual sermons, like from his church, are great. Okay. But listen to his conference stuff, and he will cram a category or an idea into a text. He does it all the time. So there's that. And then there's his affiliations. There's the stuff with Doug Wilson. There's the stuff with, going all over the place. And he kind of is the bridge between Doug Wilson and G3. So for me, I'm going to keep him there in dangerous. Then there's all the stuff with him being so confusing on Mormons with whatever his face, white hair guy. What's his name? It's like a GB. Who am I thinking of, guys? The Mormon with the white hair. I did a video on him. I'm blanking right now. I don't remember. But he had this interview. Not once did he like say like, oh, there's a difference between evangelical and Mormon. And that is so problematic when you are dealing with Mormons, because they always want to get that out there. They want to be known as Christians, and they want to be us. They want it to be about us as Christians, as conservative Christians, and they're not us. Their theology is whack, and he didn't call it out at all. And he used language that really made you think that he was affiliating himself with the same theology as Glenn Beck. Thank you so much. I had this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I was like, it's GB, but I don't remember what his name is. Yes, appreciate it. Yeah. So he never pushed back. And I think that's to his shame. To his shame. No one knows what that's about. Why do you say that again? All right. John Frame. Dr. John Frame. I'm putting him at Gospel Goat. I love me some John Frame. Oh, we need to get that out of here. John Frame is, I think, one of the best theologians out there. I love his systematic theology. Came out in like 2012, I think. I lost my sleeve for it in the moves, but man, it was a good cover. I'm just saying, like, you don't buy a systematic theology just for a cover, but I just got to say it's one of the best looking systematic theologies. And then inside it's gold. It's gold. He's so good. Why is he a Presbyterian? I think he's Presbyterian, isn't he? Jeremy will let us know. But I love the guy. All of his works are great. Like the Doctrine of the Love of God. Like he's fantastic. If you don't know who John Frame is, you need to look him up. I don't think he's loved as much as he should. Jeremy says, yeah, Presby. Yeah, he's always here to tell us when someone's a Presbyterian. I appreciate you, Jer. But yeah, so like John Frame for me is Gospel Goat. Read his stuff. He's so smart. All right. Kosty Hinn. It's not to say I agree with everything. Obviously he's Presbyterian, I'm Baptist. I'm just saying he is so smart. Kosty Hinn. Oh, this is another hard one because all right. I'm going to put him here just while we talk about him so I don't have to keep my hand on the cursor. I had bias against Kosty Hinn. I'll say it. Like, I don't have bias against everybody, but I had bias against Kosty Hinn because I am so tired of people being given a platform who don't deserve it. And let me be clear, Kosty Hinn didn't deserve his platform when he got it. He got his platform because he's, Benny Hinn's nephew, and he spoke out about the prosperity gospel. And so he just got platformed. And in my opinion, it was far too soon for him to be platformed. I don't think he was ready for it. I think that is clear through like the Doug Wilson stuff and everything with G3, that he was not prepared to be in the spotlight like that. So I have a bias against him because I don't think that he should have been in the spotlight. I don't think he should have been speaking at conferences. I think it's one of those things like I am over this thing. Not everyone is a Paul where you go from Saul to Paul and you need to tell the whole world about it and you need your story out there and you need to give your testimony. I don't think everyone is a Paul. All right. People can give their testimony, but giving your testimony and having a platform due to your testimony, I think are two very different things. And I see it far too often of, I used to be an atheist and now I'm a Christian. So now I get to go and speak about atheism. And you listen to these people talk and you're just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Just because you were part of that world doesn't mean that you know everything about Christianity. And for him, I don't think at the very beginning, let me be clear, at the very beginning, I don't think he knew his stuff to be out there speaking. Now, that was a decade ago, right? Like that was a long time ago. People grow, people change. And I've observed from a distance Kosty's change. And even though I was super disappointed with the Doug Wilson stuff, super disappointed. And I think Owen Strachan is off as a rocker, and that's like one of his besties. But I like Kosty. I've grown to appreciate what he's trying to do. And I think he is trying to be a reasonable voice in the very conservative evangelical world. Like that being said, he still exists there. So I'm going to have issues. I'm going to have differences. So I'm not going to be like, I'm going to, really put him out there and be like, I like this guy a lot, but I do appreciate what he's doing. And I appreciate the quality of his content that he's put out. And I think that there's something to it. It's a robust ministry now. And in the past, I don't think that was the case. And so I think he's learned. I think he's grown, and I think he's ready to be on that platform now. That being said, the Doug Wilson thing was a huge mistake. Like he was bold, and I appreciated that as someone who has a channel where really all I do is like kind of like be fiery on here, you know? Like I come out and I say my bold opinions. I'm not saying they're right, but it's my opinion, and I don't like keep it to myself. I don't sugarcoat it. I just say this is what I think, and you guys seem to appreciate that. Kosty did that. And I thought that was awesome. And what a change from some of these people who are just always like wanting to like be as like discreet and not say what they really mean about things. And then, you know, he says all this stuff about how Michael O'Fallon, who probably should be on this list, he would be in heck no heretic. You hear me? Michael O'Fallon, heck no heretic. That's where you'd be. But like he calls those guys out, and then immediately backtracks as soon as there's opposition. And I am firmly convinced that it wasn't cowardice. I am firmly convinced that he got convinced by Josh Bice from some of these G3 guys that he was too bold. He was too fiery. And so he needed to walk it back a little bit. And there's a certain way to do this. And we do Matthew 18, and we deal with things behind the scenes. We don't have all this drama. And I think that was a horrible mistake. And I'm disappointed in the people who told him to do that. And I'm disappointed that he listened to them. And so for me, even though I like him, and I think actually his teaching overall is pretty good, I'm going to disagree on things like, you know, what does it mean to be a man? Like the whole masculinity and like, you know, how complementarian he is. He's very complementarian, and I think too far. And so I'm going to have disagreements there, but he gets the gospel right. And a lot of good sound theology is in his ministry. So I would like to put him in all right. I really would, but I'm going to put him in questionable because he basically signed on the dotted line for Doug Wilson's ministry. And when he had an opportunity to do something where so many people who have been saying these things for a long time would have been like so thankful, like that he did it, that he stood up and he was loud and vocal and he didn't back down. He would have had so much support from people like me, from other ministries I know that I'm not going to attach here because, you know, I don't want them to have to answer for this. Kosty watches my stuff every once in a while. I know you do. So hi. And that's what I think. So, and everyone else there, hi as well. All right. Mike Cosper. I'm going to put him in real good. I know. Some of you guys are probably watching this and being like, I'm predicting all this. Oh, the woke guy is saying that the other woke guy is good and the non-woke guy is bad. Typical. You know, like I get it. But The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, I think, is such a profound work. I mean it. It's not a book. It's not like some huge statement on theology, but it is a resource that I think we're going to be using for a very long time to help us basically see who some of these teachers are. Teachers like Mark Driscoll. It's not just about Mark Driscoll, even though like now we have a reference that we could point people to, say, here's everything that you need to know about this guy before you start like liking all his stuff because of, you know, I don't know, like some political thing. Like Mike Cosper did that, and I really appreciate it. I already liked Mike Cosper. Rhythms of Grace, I think, is a great book. And I've liked him for a long time. I've listened to his podcasts, his different podcasts. So I was already a fan. But when he did that and put it out and it was what it was and it didn't sugarcoat stuff, it could have been so vanilla, guys. Think about it. Christianity today. Like, I know they're under fire over the last couple years, but mostly they've been like just like mainline, you know, not taking that bold of a stand on pretty much anything lest everyone get mad at them and they pull their funds. It could have been a podcast that just kind of been like the dangers of, you know, having too much success, you know, and it wasn't that. It was deep and it was real. And I appreciate it, Mike. I appreciate it a lot. Another guy who I would like to have on the podcast at some point. All right. I need to take a break and go and give my son his insulin. So we'll be talking about Alysa Childers. We'll put Allie Beth a little bit later. But we're going to be talking about some of these people you see right here in just a little bit. Hopefully in like 2 to 3 minutes. We'll see. Every day is different. But I will be back relatively soon. Here we go. What's up? Thanks for sticking with me. All 37 of you. It's always surprising to me how many people stick through like the little break time. I appreciate it. I'm going to pull this back up. I just like to see how things are going. Frickin' love Dexcom. All right. Austin says, my buddy said one time that I wish I would have smoked crack so I could have a sweet gig speaking at youth conferences. It kind of feels that way sometimes. Or like I see stuff, and you see it on YouTube too, of like interviews with people. This person used to be this, and now they're a pastor. This person was this, and now they're not. And it's like, okay, everyone has a testimony and you can share your testimony. It's when people, maybe it's just me being weird about money, but it's when like they add it to their finances, like it helps them financially to, be about their testimony and write their books and different things. I go like, like it's your story. You could tell your story, but when you're like, it's not that. It's not when people tell their story. It's when they act like they are the authority. That's my problem with Ginger Vuolo. Like that video I did a couple weeks ago. Like my problem isn't that she's telling her story. It's that she's saying she's telling her story, and everyone who's telling their story slightly differently and using a different word like deconstruction, they're wrong. And I don't appreciate that. And then when you like financially incentivize it, it's like gets a little weird, but if it's still your story, okay. But if you're not qualified for like being a pastor, I don't think that you should be like going around and speaking at like different conferences and doing all the things. And, like just because you used to believe in evolution, now you don't, doesn't mean, you get to be a speaker at all these different circuits and stuff. But that's just me. David says he seems to be searching a bit for a theological framework. Celebrity Christians are a real problem in the West, North America especially. About Kosty. I remember Kosty recently posted something via YouTube Shorts about not kissing until your wedding day. Yeah. Like he still exists in that world. Like he's always going to have like those more conservative takes and like being, like maybe you shouldn't drink, and like maybe you shouldn't watch this movie, that movie. Should you be involved with Halloween? Those are the debates that he's going to be having over in his world. And I could look past a lot of that stuff. Like for me, like I don't care what Kosty Hinn thinks about, whether like I've done a lot more. All right, no, this isn't the olive, but like, I don't care what he thinks about like your first kiss with your spouse and whatnot, or dating and stuff like that. Obviously, that's like a long time ago for me now. But like it does matter to me. Whatever. I could look past that stuff, and anyone that I would be like, hey, check out his stuff. One, I'm going to have all kinds of disclaimers that I don't even need to get into that stuff. Yeah, I just like, I could look past a lot of that stuff if I can appreciate the bigger aspects of their theology. Like I don't care about the superficial stuff as much. Now I will tease. Oh, you could bet I'm going to tease and have fun with some of those superficial things. Yeah, 100%. The rise and fall of Mars Hill needed a lot more scripture. I don't think so. Like, I think we've talked about this one before, Jer. But for me, like, I don't think that it had to be a Bible study. Like it's more of just telling people stories, right? And being a reference point for that. Now you can take scriptures and like base it off of that, and, kind of use those scriptures as a lens to see the stories. And you should do that anyways, just with daily life. But I don't think it was a requirement for that series to use scripture, because basically they were just trying to say, this is what happened. And I don't need theology to be like, I don't need all of history to be theological. I think you'd agree with me on that. But also when it comes even to like some of these like recent church history stuff and church, just even churches, like in what happens at those churches, I don't need, a bunch of scripture to point me in a direction there. I'm going to take scripture into those thoughts anyways. And I think most people would, maybe sometimes you might have a point. Like maybe they should have added a few things here and there, especially when it comes to like the qualifications and why he was unqualified in this way and unqualified in that way. Could have been helpful for people who, don't think about theology as much. Mike Cosper isn't mainly a theology guy, but I like him. He's at least aight. Yep. Austin says, Mike Cosper, bro! After the third episode, the conclusion was to not be a toxic leader, you have to have women pastors. Firmly disagree. Mostly, I don't think Mike Cosper is an egalitarian. Like, so there's that. Like, I'm pretty sure he's complementarian still. But yeah, like, I don't think that's a conclusion. I think a lot of people... I was talking about this with my movie channel today, talking about expectations, and it feels like people have expectations of what someone's going to be, and like, or at least I'll stick to the movie thing for a minute. Like this past summer, there were a lot of movies that came out, and I think a lot of people thought that these movies were going to be something because of the franchise that it belonged to, or because of the trailers, and they had those expectations. And then when they watched the movie, those expectations affected how they saw everything. And so they weren't able to actually like appreciate or really even observe like what the movie was because of those expectations that were weighing down on them. And so they came out of the movie being like, well, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Well, it's not the movie's fault that it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And I think a lot of people are doing that with theology today. Like they're looking at different people and saying like, you have expectations because of maybe certain words that are used or maybe certain affiliations that people are a part of. And we kind of let that be the lens that we see people through. And I'm not saying you're doing this, Austin. I'm just saying like, I think this happens. Like it happens to me. And I think it happens to everybody where we let those things just kind of be the lens that we see things through, and it affects how we observe the thing. And I think a lot of people, like if you wanted to see, woke stuff in The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, I think you probably saw it. If you want to see all that kind of stuff in Russell Moore, you're going to see it. Like if you want to like fill in the blank of whatever teacher, you can find a way to come to that conclusion. All of us can. So I think we need to be very careful about that kind of stuff. For me, I didn't see that. And again, I think Mike Cosper is a complementarian. I don't know right off the top of my head whether he's changed his mind on things in the last like 8 years. But back in the day, he was a complementarian, and I'm pretty sure he still is. But yeah. Aaron's here. Hey, Dean, it's good to catch you live again. Do you have a video articulating your view on complementarianism? I would appreciate your insight on the doctrine. I've got a lot. I don't know. Chat, help me out. Do you remember a certain time that I talked about it? I talk about it a lot. Probably whatever video it was that I talked about Kevin DeYoung and patriarchy. I remember going into like real detail about it. I'm not sure which one that was. So just look through the thumbnails, and whichever one has Kevin DeYoung on the front. I'm pretty sure that would probably be a good place. Glad I don't see my face down there. We know where Dean would put me. No, I'd put you higher than you'd think. Not that high, but still high. Jamie says, I really like The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. Mike did an excellent job. I think so. You had a break, chat. Who are some of the preachers you used to love and now to find to be problematic? T.D. Jakes and Furtick for me. They had me sold after growing up Baptist-costal. Oh, definitely John MacArthur. Mark Driscoll would be another one. Like, guys, I grew up in Seattle. Like, I grew up in the shadow of Mars Hill. And, I did not see the light until I was already mad. I don't know why I'm doing so many Bane references. Let me know if any of you guys got any of, like, I think I've done like 3 Bane references in this stream. All right. Heidi came in with a different one because she didn't think David's was good enough. I'm just kidding. What are you all reading currently? I am not reading anything right now. The Bible. Ever heard of it? I'm sorry. Critical Dilemma by Neil Shenvi. That's the guy from JD's church, right? He's from Summit. Michael Reeves, not Horton. Okay. CJ Mahaney, Piper for me, kind of, but I wasn't really into listening to preachers, to be honest. I was more into philosophers. Okay. Yep. We talked about it, JSL. We talked about it. I have been considering making a list of 100 books and only reading those and mastering those for the rest of my life. Thoughts? Why? Well, why just 100? Like, mastering them? I mean, like, okay, but there's going to be stuff you want to read. You know it. Like, there'll be popular books that come along and you'll be like, 101, you know. Hi, Dino. Matthew Holland. Hello, Matthew Holland. Yeah. All right. Aaron, interesting thought. I don't think I'd be inclined to make a similar goal, but I see some benefits in like the reading thing. Caleb says, what? I have your channel set up to notify me, and for some reason, I didn't get the ping. Alas. I've heard that more and more lately. I don't know what that's about. But a lot of people have told me they didn't get notification. Like they have me set for notifications and they didn't get notifications. So I don't know what to tell you. Even today, like I think I've had this one scheduled for a couple hours at the very least. So I don't know, but I'm glad you're here, Caleb. I'm glad you found your way here. Maybe because someone hit the like button. 46 of you watching, 22 likes. Just saying, guys, please do it. I like The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. The Things We Do to Women was the story of my IFB life. It's not just about women preachers, in my opinion. I completely agree. Actually, like listening to that episode, that's when I made my video. Guys, that episode changed my podcast. Well, actually, I didn't even have a podcast at the time. It changed my YouTube channel, and it meant that you guys actually found me, most of you, because I made my video about The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. And it was because of this episode, like because of the things that were being discussed. And it was just so heartbreaking, to be honest, when I made my video. And then boom, all of a sudden I was making more of that kind of content. And y'all are here now. Agreed. Rise and Fall. Appreciated Cosper's approach. Too much theologizing would have gotten in the way of the broader topic that needed to be tossed out. Can't do everything at once. I completely agree, except I refuse for theologizing to be a term. I know you put it in the quotes. I've just seen it way too often lately. Like, I'm not a wordsmith. I fumble over my words all the time. But I refuse for theologize to be a word. And anyone who uses it, unless your name is Caleb, I will roll my eyes. I was listening to somebody, and they were talking about how crappy someone's theology was, and they were just ripping this person apart. And then they were just like, you can't theologize that way. And it's just like, I'm supposed to listen to you? Like, his theology is crap, but you saying theologize, oh, okay. That's not a word. Sam Harrington, yeah, I still like Driscoll even after everything. Sam, that's so sad. I don't mean to call you out, but you came into the chat and you said it. You can like who you want to like, but understand that thousands of people were hurt in Seattle. Like, let that sink in for a minute. Like, I know it sounds like over the top, all right? Maybe you don't believe everything. But because of the man's ministry, thousands of people were affected. And they were heartbroken over it. And some of them left the faith. Now you can argue, oh, they went out from us because they weren't a part of us. Okay, but can we all just agree that's a bad thing? I don't know if you're coming in here just to have an argument or whether you're just stating your opinion. I don't want to feel like I'm bullying you, Sam, but you came in here and you said it. And I just think that's so belittling to thousands of people in Seattle and around the world who were hurt and who were affected by that guy's ministry. And, yeah, like you can like who you want to like. It's a free world, but, you come into my chat and you say it, I'm going to talk about it. Rise and Fall was aimed at church people who know Mark Driscoll, so most of the audience were assumed to be familiar with and understand Scripture, in my opinion. Yeah, fair point. Fair point. You know, whatever. Jared can have his opinion about having more Scripture in it. It's just, I disagree a little bit, but I still like Jeremiah a lot. Currently reading The God Who Draws Near, book on Christian spirituality. Nice short book, about 90 pages. 90 pages, that's what we call a booklet. What is that, a Joe Thorne book? Luke is here. How's it going, buddy? All right, let's see. All right. Let's get back into it. Enough of this. What is this? Like a community and whatnot? That's so lame. All right, let's talk about some more celebrities. Let's get into it. Okay. What time is it? It's 8:20. We got time. Alysa Childers. Oh boy. Coming right back to get everyone mad at me. This is again that thing. I'm going to put her with Kosty. All right. Here's my deal. It's the same thing as Kosty. I think a platform given too early. I know she was in Zoe Girl. All right. I get it. But this thing of everyone who comes out of something becoming an expert on that thing. Guys, there are plenty of people who came out of the IFB world and are not experts on the IFB world. All right. You come out of progressivism, and that doesn't make you an expert on progressiveness. Progressiveness. You know what I meant. All right. I'm not either. That's why I don't write a book about it. But she wrote books about it. She's got her podcast. But again, I think over time, I think she's gotten better. I've appreciated some of the things that she puts out. I don't always appreciate who she has on her show, but it's not my show. So I'll just put her in questionable. It's not someone I would be like, I'm going to recommend that you go out and check out her stuff. But yeah. And I will say this, the Asbury revival thing was a little icky to me. Little icky. All right. Of like she said she was like close by, but I think she drove like an hour and a half. And like went to the revival and then makes these videos about it. I just don't like that stuff. I know a lot of YouTubers went and like they wanted to experience it and then report what they found, and I'm not going to judge someone's motivations, but it just felt icky to me. Marcus Rogers, heck no heretic. He is one. I don't like saying it, but he is one. He denies the Trinity. He's got so much problematic teachings. He doesn't know orthodoxy. You can't pick it apart. He doesn't know. He doesn't know a lot of things. He's a charismatic guy, I guess. Every time I've ever watched a Marcus Rogers video, he is looking like so not wanting to be there. And it's like checked out and wearing a hoodie. And like, I like hoodies. Okay, so this is not a thing, but it just like looks like he's about. You guys know in New Girl, when like Nick would put on the hoodie and he'd like hide into his hoodie. That's what I feel like Marcus Rogers is always doing whenever I've watched anything from him. That being said, I haven't watched a ton, just mostly debates, and well, he's not great at that. He is a heretic, so he goes down there. J.I. Packer. Gospel goat, y'all. Some of you asked me to put in a few of these guys who have recently passed, so I'm putting him in there. J.I. Packer, growing in Christ. I know. Like some of you guys are like, what about knowing God? Growing in Christ, I think, is my favorite work of his. I have a video about my top 5 J.I. Packer books, so go and check that out. I think I have one, or was that I did a thing way back in the day on my YouTube channel here of 25 day like theology bookmas, 25 days of theology bookmas, where I went through like 25 books that have impacted me. And don't judge me too harsh on the quality if you go back and watch those things. But I really like J.I. Packer quite a bit. I think he was such a help to the church. God used him greatly, And Growing in Christ is probably my favorite book of his, where he's just awesome. I love that guy. C.J. Mahaney, dangerous. I've never been a fan of C.J. Mahaney, not like J.A. Packer. I never listened to his sermons. I knew he was friends with all the guys that I liked, though. So I assumed that he was good. And, then he speaks at different stuff, and he has Josh Harris come and take over his ministry. And like, I'm wondering, like, what's that about? I thought that was weird, even way back in the day, because again, like, it's just like one of those guys who, he, wrote a book and it was really popular. And now he gets to be on here, be on the platforms and everything. Like, I just don't get like the evangelical platform thing of where, like, why someone gets to be on the platform. But, Josh Harris did, and he let him on there, and we all saw how that turned out. It's not necessarily CJ's fault. That being said, there's all kinds of problematic stuff with covering up of abuse and finances and different things. And for me, that's super dangerous. It's enough to keep him there. But I've never been a fan. Carey Newolf. All the Canadians are going to get so mad at me. So mad at me. I'm putting him in dangerous. All right, let me get into it. This guy's Instagram is nuts. All right, he talks like he's one of these guys. He's a pastor, but he talks mostly about church leadership and structure and different things like that. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's real problematic. Some of the things that he says a senior pastor is supposed to do, I think, is super unhealthy. I think it's unbiblical. Like the way that he like, even recently he was talking about how the senior pastor should know who all the givers are so that he could thank them. Guys, do you realize how troubling that is? Think about your senior pastor knowing exactly how much money you give and then prioritizing time based on how much you give. That's what he was calling for. So maybe theologically, like, he's definitely not a heretic. I don't think he's in it just to, get the platform, even though he does a lot of work for that platform. I just think his strategies are dangerous, and I don't appreciate them, and I don't recommend him as being someone, like, if you want like strategies of how to do marketing and how to promote your church and, structures within leadership, there's guys like Brady Shear, or even Trey Van Camp. He's got some good stuff on that stuff too. Shout out to Trey, not to John. But like there's tons of guys that you can go out and you can find good stuff on. It doesn't have to be this guy. It doesn't just even that fact. It grosses me out so much still of like, you should know how much money every person in your church gives, who your big donors are, so that you can tell them thank you. You mean like, so you can like pet them on the head and make sure they stay so you don't lose that money? Like, all it is like secular business stuff coming into the church, and I despise it. So for me, he's dangerous. D.A. Carson. I'm going to put him in I8. I know he's done a lot for the church with TGC and everything. Although, the last couple of years, I don't think TGC is as good as maybe all of us thought. So, or at least I did. So I'm learning a little bit. But D.A. Carson, he's a good preacher. He's a good theologian. Best commentary on John. Best. It's right there. It's right. It's right there. I love it. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it to you. Here we go. Don't go away. I knocked my headphones off. I got up, like pulled me back a little bit. It was almost like one of those cartoon things. I'll put them on in a sec. But every once in a while I go like, oh, it's over on that bookshelf. And I feel like half the time you like don't believe me. I've got 5 bookshelves here. But this is one of them. This commentary is like the lettering. It is gold. It is so good. My favorite commentary on John. He's great. Exegetical fallacies. Awesome. Yes, the pillar commentary on John. It's part of the... Pillar. I think it's great. All right. So I love him, but I wouldn't put him in anything more, mostly because I haven't listened to enough of his sermons and stuff. I've listened to a few. But yeah, I like everything I hear. Also, he's a little too snarky, and I wonder where he's gone. Like, I don't know if it's health issues or what, but he hasn't been doing a whole lot. Break chat. Nice. The TGC pitch bot is more impactful than TGC these days. Oh, I love that one. Like sometimes that thing is gold. I just got here, by the way. Well, cool. We've been here, by the way. What was that? Must have been about something. Wow, that Voddie and Alysa Childers rankings are bad. Then again, I listened to too much Redeemed Zoomer. If you listen to any Redeemed Zoomer, I think it's probably too much. Oh, shots fired! Oh, I'm mostly kidding, but I'm a little bit serious. Guys, don't listen to 20-year-olds about theology. All right, 20-year-olds who haven't gone to seminary, don't listen to them about theology, okay? I'm over it. I'm over it. If your 24-year-old has been to seminary, all right, listen to him. But like, if you haven't gone to seminary and you don't have the life experience, I don't know why you should be listened to. So sorry. What happened to credentials? Like, I don't want to be like the gatekeeper. Although, here's something. All right, let me stop for a second. Let's dive into this a little bit. All right. I was listening to Alan Parr and Ruslan talk about their stuff, and I did my Olive episode, talking about Christian YouTubers, but they were talking about like Alan Parr was basically like, you should go to seminary, because he did go to seminary. He went to Dallas, and I think he has like a legit degree too, not just like a 1-year degree. So Alan Parr should know his stuff. But he's talking about the necessity of seminary and like formal training, and pastors should be formally trained. And like Ruslan was saying something about it being like, that sounds pretty gatekeepery to me. And it's just like, no crap. That's what seminary is all about. Like it is literally gatekeeping, because you shouldn't like be in this position of authority without being trained. And so, yes, seminary is gatekeepery, but that's good. Like, it's helpful for the church, but whatever. RJ, at least wait till you're 30 before you are listened to about theology. Jesus had to wait this long. Well, I mean, like, if you go to seminary, like if you're trained, like that's something. But like these guys who just get like their platforms, and I'm not jealous, by the way, because like, again, this channel isn't monetized. I know that if I monetize this channel, the reach would grow. So I'm not necessarily all about like building up the platform. But like, if you don't have training and you don't have life experience, then everything is theoretical. It's all, this hypothetical thing for you. And I don't think that like a 20 some odd year old is able to like really like be like, oh, I've thought through everything and I'm ready to give this. I don't think they should be listened to about theology. If they don't have training, they don't have life experience, I don't care what you have to say. I really don't. Other than like that you're a person and you should be able to voice your opinion. But to be an authority on something, no. And if you're going to have like an education-based channel, which in some ways, that's what I have. Like I kind of think of myself more as like a reaction channel, like just like a Christian reaction channel. But in some ways, it is education. But like I'm qualified to do that because I have been trained. I do have the life experience, even though I'm younger than some of you guys. Some of you guys are always like, you talk as if you're 50. Like, I know. I'm 34. I'm older than Jesus was on this planet, which still weirds me out. Isn't that a weird thing? You Christians, you know what I'm talking about. As soon as you turn 34 and you're just like, wait, Jesus died at 33. It feels like it's life changing. It's just like what is happening right now? Because you always think of Jesus as older. But regardless, like that's why I feel like I can do that kind of stuff. But like these 20-year-olds starting their theology channels and like doing their Bible studies, it's like, okay, but that's like peer-to-peer stuff. It's not like I'm teaching you something. It's not someone to follow. And didn't like that Redeemed Zoomer guy. Like we looked at a tweet. Wasn't he talking about how like it should only be one vote per family? Like women shouldn't be voting and stuff like that again. Also, hi to that guy. I'm assuming that a lot of these kind of guys actually pay attention, watch stuff. Luke says, dude, I have a BS in biblical studies and an MA in biblical exposition with 12 years of ministry experience, and I still question my own voice weighing in on some of these theological ideas. You know why? Because you're humble. Like, that's what that is. Like, if anyone's qualified to be talking about this stuff, Luke Daly's qualified. Like, look at his resume. Like, this is qualified. Like I've got a BA, I have an MA, I have an MDiv. I have almost a decade of pastoral experience. I'm not talking about like I was a worship pastor and, like, well, it was part-time. Actually, it was a volunteer thing. And okay, I just printed off the songs. Yeah, like, I've been a senior pastor. Like I know what I'm talking about that kind of stuff. Like not to where I'm like some expert, but I'm at least qualified to like have, my voice in the conversation. I'm just tired of like every 20-year-old with a camera being able to be like, I'm doing Bible studies for hundreds of thousands of people. And it's not about like the numbers and like being like, oh, why do they get it and I don't get it? That's not what I'm saying. I am saying like, why do people care what a 20-year-old guy thinks who doesn't have the education, who doesn't have the life experience? I just don't get it, to be honest. It's kind of frustrating. But let's see. I've come to realize how important life experience, wisdom that comes with age, formal training, mentoring is for ministry, seeing the devastating effects firsthand. Yeah, like life experience is good. But I also like what kind of experience? Like if you were an assistant pastor at a church in like the SBC and like everything was always good and you never had to worry about anything, you haven't been through stuff, like, whatever. Like that's good and everything, but give me a pastor who's been through the crap, like, and I've found like the people who have, like, it is far more helpful to have them who have gone through it. They know what you're going through because they've been through it themselves. I want that kind of stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Crusader is here. I love Alysa Childress and I like Dean Lancini. I see what you did there. I've read 2 of her books. They're amazing. I've subscribed to you because you are very different than what I listen to, which is a good thing. Well, I appreciate that. You don't have to love me. You can love Alysa Childress. That's fine. I'm just saying my opinion and like what I recommend. And I'm not going to be able to, like, there are tons of people who would put me on this list and be like, you guys help me. Like, I don't think anyone will call me a heretic unless they're like the IFB types that are like, why did you question everything? Like those guys might. But like, I get it. Like, it's all a matter of perspective. Linguist says, I have an MA in biblical studies and trying for a THM with a BA in literature, and I question my own knowledge every day. I even teach biblical history, I'm assuming, with BH. Yeah. Yeah. That's called humility, guys. Like, you guys are normal. It's good to question yourself and whether, like, am I the right person to be talking about that? If you are sitting there thinking the world needs my voice, they don't. They don't need your voice. If you think that everyone needs your voice, they don't need your voice. All right. Who's someone who does think that the world needs his voice? Sean Fugt, used car salesman. Easy call. A guy who records himself taking communion. It's not communion. You're just drinking grape juice. You're just hanging out at the Capitol building, but who records himself for political advantage. Heck no. You are a used car salesman. I don't know enough about his theology to say anything, whether he's a heretic or not, but he is a used car salesman. Franklin Graham, used car salesman. Yeah, you heard me. Again, I wrote an article back in 2015 it was during all the Trump stuff, and he was saying a lot of support for Trump. And there were people in BC who were saying they didn't want him to come and do evangelism. They didn't want him to come and do like a big thing there. And I wrote an article, and TGC Canada put it out, of like that. I was saying, like, why? The gospel's going out. Like, have the gospel. You don't have to agree with his politics. Why are these Christians, these supposed Christians, against the gospel getting out? I might have been wrong on that. The idea, I agree with myself on the idea. But this guy, he's not about the gospel anymore. He might say it during stuff, but he's about politics. He has made that abundantly clear. Politics and taking pictures of McDonald's in foreign countries. That's what he's about now. So, nope. Let's see. When I say experience, I don't even necessarily mean ministry experience, just living and encountering challenges in the course, trying to walk in light of the gospel. I completely agree. Pam says, very much value the been through the crap degree over the MDiv, but the MDiv definitely helps too. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for putting Franklin in the right place. That's okay. Hey, you know what? Welcome. This is what we do, Crusader. You know, in high school, we were the Crusaders. I was the captain of the Crusaders basketball team. I would have liked a different name. What would I have wanted? I always got jealous of the team that got like the red and black colors, because it's like, that's so much more threatening. We were purple and gold, and I kind of hated it. It grew on me, but I kind of hated it. That's not what you're here for. Let's talk about Allie Beth Stuckey. This lady, I'm going to put... This one's hard. This one, like, some of these are much harder than others for me. Allie Beth Stuckey is all about politics, but that's kind of her job. Like, I don't view her channel as being like a theological channel. It's a Christian channel that talks about politics. And when you have that in mind, even though I disagree with a lot of stuff, I'm definitely not going to put her down in these parts. I'd probably just put her right alongside with Alysa Childers. They could be friends together. But I don't recommend her stuff for sure. And at some point we might talk about some of her video stuff. But all right, let's talk about the forehead of all foreheads in the reform world, James Montgomery Boyce. Oh my goodness, do I love this guy. I love him. Loved him a long time. He is one of those guys that, you know, he's long gone now, but he is, you know, people talk about Reformed theology and the resurgence, and they talk about R.C. Sproul, and R.C. definitely was a part of it. But you would not have had R.C. having the ministry that he had without James Montgomery Boyce. An exegetical preacher, great. Like, if you want a commentary that isn't like super theological, that is just like down to earth, like very pastoral, his commentaries are bomb. Okay. His commentary on Acts, fantastic. I love James Montgomery Boyce. So I'd put him in real good, not necessarily gospel goat, but real good. I really enjoy his stuff. Remnant Radio. I'm going to put him, this is hard. I'm going to put him in Ite. Like, obviously they're super charismatic, and like I talked about that on the cessationist documentary video thing, and shout out to those guys. They came and said hi, and I really appreciate that. I love those guys. That being said, I disagree with a lot of their theology. So like, just about like speaking in tongues and like the miraculous stuff, the cessationist, continuationist argument stuff. But I dig what they're about. I dig their style. Actually, one of the things that made me go like, I should do this. I should try this. I should try doing a podcast and doing it live. I was inspired by those guys. So I appreciate a lot of what they've done. And I find them to be pretty interesting. I don't watch their stuff very often anymore. But I do appreciate what they're about. Spencer Smith. I'm so sorry. My bad. Missionary Spencer Smith. Dangerous. He's just typical Fundy, you know, like if you're like, I mean, like, look at the guy. He's got like, these are bullet things, whatever, ammunition around him. And he's wearing a suit and, you know, like, what is it about Fundies and these sunglasses? I don't want to just make fun of someone's appearance, but it's all the Fundies. They always wear these sunglasses. Is this cool? I don't know. Like, this is definitely not my style. But the guy's crazy. He's a wacky guy. And, you know, there's times where I think like, oh, this, like, I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but the things that I have observed, because like titles or thumbnails suck me in because they're so crazy. And then I watched them, like, I could see, you know, why Fundies love this guy and why his channel is so big. I could see it. Like, he is talented in what he does. That being said, his theology is whack. So he's going to be dangerous. Joel Beakey, I'm going to put an I, only because his affiliations with some people. It's just like, what are you doing? What are you about right now? I don't understand what you're doing. He's so good. His books are good. His sermons are good. And then he hangs out with like a lot of weird folks. Hello. Making an appearance. Can you say hi?
Hi.
All right. Where should we put the what do you meme guy? What color? This one?
Mm-hmm.
Or this one?
Mm-hmm.
You think he's gospel goat?
Mm-hmm.
What do you know? Get out of here. Go to bed. But seriously, buddy, you need to go to bed, okay? All right, night-night. I love you. Such a goofball. What do you mean? John McCrae? Is that right? I don't know. I've watched like a grand total of 3 videos of his. Like, I just don't find that kind of style interesting. I know some of you guys might be like, what are you talking about? That's your style. But I don't know. I just don't find him interesting. So I don't like, I know like some of you guys asked for him. So, I'm just going to put him in questionable. The only reason is because I don't know anything about him. Like I said, I watched a few videos and I did find it interesting. He did something that I was trying to do for a little bit. Like, I tried one video. Maybe I should have done it for a little bit longer, but theology on film. I wanted to do movie stuff, and I thought maybe I could work it into this channel and talk about some of the theology that you might find in some of these movies. And then I made one video and it felt icky to me and didn't feel on brand, and none of you guys liked it. So, so I stopped doing it. But I've seen a few videos of his, and I definitely don't agree with his movie reviews. But like, I thought he had some decent points about some of the things that I saw. Like, so I forget which movie it was, but he had some decent points. But that's about all I know about the guy. So I'll just keep him there. Dave Ramsey is used car salesman, and like, I would put him, like, let's put him all the way over here, just so that you know he is the most used of all the used car salesmen. This guy is greasy. This guy is icky. This guy is dangerous. This guy brings weapons into the workplace, allegedly. Don't sue me, Dave. This guy is just the worst. I don't like, he doesn't know enough theology for him to be a heretic. I don't know why Christians support him so much. Like, I get it if you've been helped by him. You know, if you've had some financial stresses in your life and you started knuckling down and you started buying all the envelopes and using the envelopes and, you know, whatever, and you got out of debt, I can understand why you would be thankful to him and support him. But this guy is a terrible man. Just terrible. He's awful. He's mean. He's not Christ-like in any way, and yet he gets to go and speak at all these churches, at the SBC conference, like, he gets to go and do all these things within the Christian world, and I just feel like he's doing it for the money. If it wasn't for Christians, I don't think this guy would be successful. I don't think his stuff works in the secular world, mostly because he went bankrupt. And then he started focusing on Christians and their finances, and all of a sudden, he's a millionaire. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. 80 Robles, I'm putting him in used car salesman. Very typical for all those, the right response fellas, but he doesn't know theology. You could listen to him talk. He doesn't know his theology. He just doesn't. He hasn't gone to seminary. He doesn't have any training. He is unqualified to have any kind of educational theological channel. If you think he's funny, cool. If you like what he says about politics, okay. But nope. I don't recommend his stuff. I think you should stay far, far away. Conrad Mbuebe. Real good. I don't agree with Conrad probably on a ton of different stuff, and his affiliations sometimes are just like, but I'll tell you one thing. All right. I heard this phrase used for him back in the day, like a long time ago. I've talked to Conrad. I've met him. Seems like a great guy. Back in the day, it was like 2011, 2012. They talked about him at Desiring God, or the Bethlehem Conference. I always forget that it's not Desiring God back then. Like they changed it. It was like the year after they changed it. But at Bethlehem Conference, they brought him out as like the Spurgeon of Africa. That's what they said. And I was like, what? It's a little weird. But he does kind of preach like sermon, like Spurgeon. If you actually look at Spurgeon's sermons and you read them, and then you listen to him talk, you can see where there would be actually quite a few similarities. I'm not saying he's as good a preacher as Spurgeon, but he is a very good preacher, and he usually gets the text right. And he kind of leaves a lot of the politics for other people. And then in some of the sessions where they're doing like the Q&A stuff, he'll probably give you some bad answers. But I love his preaching. I really do. I can't help it. Isn't he with the Christian nationalist crowd? News to me. Or are you're talking about 80 Robles, all right? Robles. I hope you're talking about him and not Conrad. Because that would be a shock. I guess I don't pay attention to everything that everyone always does, but I'm pretty sure Conrad isn't there. I don't know why he would be. He doesn't live here. but I don't know. That hasn't stopped Voddie Baucham. All right. Wait. Yeah. All right. I already dealt with Voddie. John Mark Comer. This guy is just weird. I know everyone loves him for his books about productivity and just, he's a hippie. He's a Christian hippie. And I've seen a lot of Christian hippies. So for me, he's not this life-changing guy. And I'm sorry to I know it's a caricature of putting people into different stuff. Okay. Thank you, Caleb, for saying that. Cause I was like, not Conrad, but yeah, you were talking about AD. John Mark Comer is I don't really have any big problems with him. I don't see the appeal of why everyone is like, oh wow, and why his podcast is so successful. It's just if I talk quiet, is everything I say more meaningful if I talk like this? Probably not, right? Paul David Tripp. Paul David Tripp is one of those guys. I'm going to put him in questionable for a sec. One of those guys that I immediately was like, I see through what you're doing. All this stuff about family, and all the books and pushing everything seemed like every quarter. I like looking, or at least I used to really like looking at the catalogs for different people, like Crossway and Erdmans used to put their stuff out, and like Tyndale, like looking at their catalogs and seeing the books that were coming out and seeing, like a little boy at Christmas time. Actually, we got the Amazon wish list upstairs, and they were like, like writing all kinds of stuff, like putting circles and being like, I want this, and putting stars if they really, really wanted it, which, it turns out the whole book has a whole bunch of stars in it. So that's kind of what I did with some of these like theological catalogs for the books coming out. And Paul David Tripp always had one. It's like every single quarter he was coming out with a new book with Crossway, and it just felt so gimmicky. And a lot of the books were almost the exact same, just like slightly different. And I thought he was a used car salesman, to be honest. And then The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill came out, and this is something that also was with me because I remembered, like, because again, like I cared about Mars Hill and Mark Driscoll, and when everything was falling apart, I was paying attention to Warren Throckmorton, like his blog about everything, because he was the person that everyone was going to. He was basically like the Julie Roys of the time. And so like people were coming to him, and I was reading all those blogs, and I remember that they brought in Paul David Tripp to kind of like be this like counselor for Mark, and like this like kind of arbiter during like this whole, or arbitrator during this whole thing with everything that was happening at Mars Hill. And I remember that like everything went to crap while he was there. And I kind of put like, why does he get to like go and still have like this hugely successful career with Crossway when he was there and he was a part of things? And honestly, I think like he really messed up on a few spots, and basically said that Mark was good for a while. He said that. So like, I was like, what is going on? And like, then all the books, and I was like, yeah, he's a used car salesman. That's what I thought. He has some decent books like The Dangerous Calling or whatever about being a pastor. I think it's a little over the top. A little like, we're in a battle, man. Like, I know there's biblical language for that, but I just thought, man. But I was ready to put him down here back in the day. And then to hear him kind of apologize for his role in the Mars Hill stuff and give his side of things as well. And I so appreciated that. I thought it wasn't something he had to do, but it was the right thing to do. And so I'm going to put him an 8. I'm still not a huge fan of his writing and stuff. I think he's fine, but too much stuff out there. Theocast, I love those guys and put them real good. I really like their stuff. I don't always listen to them. John Moffat is the man. I really like that guy. And so I'm going to put them at real good. Everyone should check out their stuff. Like they're going to be, more formal than I am. Like they're going to be a little bit more theologically robust in their conversations than what we do here. But I think you'll find at least a similar tone toward like church hurt and different things that are going on in culture that I feel like so many people who would be in my theological camp of like conservative reformed theology, they just have a completely different tone toward that kind of stuff. And I think you'll find Theocast to be pretty similar in tone to me on those issues. So I really like them. Ray Comfort, questionable. Like, it's just la 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 la. Talk like Theocast just did a good thing of law gospel distinction. Ray Comfort should watch it. Oh, that'd be good. But he's the guy going like, have you ever stolen anything? Oh, you have? You're a thief. You're going to hell. Like it's just like just killing people with the law to bring in Jesus in the conversation. And, I can see why that's effective. But honestly, does every person who admits that yes, I've stolen, yes, I've, lied, yes, I've, whatever, do they really understand that they're under, the judgment of God apart from Christ? No, I don't think it's a very effective way to actually get ongoing conversions. Now, maybe he follows up with people. We don't see that, right? Like it's all just like that initial moment of evangelist has street confrontation with, this atheist or whatever. Like those are kind of videos that go around. I don't appreciate those. But he might follow up with people. but those kinds of people don't. So that's why I put him there. Russell Moore, I'm putting him at questionable. All right. I don't like doing it. Like, I've gone back and forth on Russell Moore. I used to think he was great. And even up to a couple months ago, it's like, yeah. And then like just to see some of the things that he's been about, and it's not about like the woke stuff. It's more about just like the way that he talks about, the SBC as if he was never a part of it. He talks about like the SBC as if like he had zero power in the SBC. And it's just like, bro, you were the head of theology at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And then you were the head of this ERLC thing that they made. Like, you had tons of authority. You had tons of power. So for him to be like, I did everything I could, like, maybe that's true, but like, don't talk about, like these things as if like you weren't a part of it, like that you're like totally distinct from it. And to just be like doing that so quickly after he left. Like, I mean, I get it why him and Beth Moore had their conversation and stuff. Like, because they're friends and they both got pretty alienated from the. I see that. You better not slander RC. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Where is he going to land? Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I just think that it was too soon for him to be talking about this thing, this organization, as if he never belonged, as if he never had power, because he did have power. So that's my main issue. I don't care about like the woke stuff like that I don't buy into that stuff. So for me, like, it's not about that kind of stuff. It's not about the MLK 50 thing. It's not about any of that stuff for me. For me, it's mostly about the SBC and the way he talks about it as if he wasn't a part of it when he was just a huge part of it. Isaiah Saldivar. I'm putting him. Oh, dang. This one's hard. I do think that this guy might be a heretic. I haven't heard enough, mostly because I just can't stand listening to the guy. It's another one of those like young guy, and I get like he's probably my age, but like didn't go to seminary, or at least I don't think he went to seminary. It doesn't sound like he went to seminary. Doesn't have necessarily life experience, but he was an atheist, and now he's not. And now he can speak in tongues, and that, like, it's this guy is one of the demon slayers. He's one of the biggest Christian YouTubers out there. And when you watch his stuff, you could see, you could see all like the gamer Stitch stuff is Twitch Stitch, Switch Stitch. I'm so old. But like, it's like the gamer streams kind of style. And I could just see why he's popular because of that with young people. But he's so problematic. He probably is a heretic, but I can't like nail him down on the Trinity. So I'm just like, he probably should be right there with Marcus Rogers. But yeah, Shanley. Russell Moore acts like he had no influence in the SBC. Also, he complains about evangelical support of Trump, but don't tell me he didn't more than tolerate the religious right stuff. Yeah, it was just like he acts as if like Trump was like the first bad thing to come along. It's like, no. And yes, he had a lot of influence and he could have been doing a lot, and he didn't. Oh, really? Yeah, I really don't like those. You like them? Okay. But not me. Somebody had to do it, Dean. Great call. Which one? Which one was a great call? Oh, Russell. Yeah. But again, it's for me, it's the SBC thing. I know for a lot of people, it's going to be something else. Ray Comfort, and at least a used car salesman, especially after the infamous banana speech. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Like, that's cool. It's cool. Where you put Theocast will be a make or break for our relationship. That's it. Heck no, I'm not going to do this to those guys. I like John. I don't know Justin, but I like John. I think he's cool. All right, RC. This one is a hard one too, because it's just like I know he's gone. I have a visitor coming. Let me just sit with the tension here while I just contemplate, because I just don't know where to put him. Who is it? All right, you gotta wait a sec. I'll be right back. We're going on a break. All right, what's going on? What is this video? What are we doing right now? Oh yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, I think I'd probably just leave RC there. There's just like his friendship with John MacArthur. That's just like, they were a little too close, you know? Like, it's just like, why are you hanging out with that guy? All right. He's gospel goat, guys. You know I wasn't going to do that. You know I wasn't going to be like, oh, how could I put RC at real good? Like, what would be the thing that would? No, he's gospel goat for sure. I love so much of his books. I've been blessed by R.C. Sproul's ministry so much. For me, growing up, it was like the three guys I listened to all the time because they were on the radio and stuff. It was John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, and Greg Laurie. And yeah, I love him. And the day he passed was very sad. Like, very sad. And I wish that he was around. Man, like, maybe I would be disappointed at some of the takes that he would have and like where he would land on some things. But it makes me so sad that I'll never know where he stands on some of these things, where like John MacArthur and, you know, some of these other guys that would have been in his camp, where I would have loved to hear what RC thought about, you know, like the pandemic and, you know, some of this woke stuff. Maybe he could have held, I would have imagined, just in my mind, maybe obviously I don't know him, but just from reading him, I feel like he would have been someone to hold John MacArthur back on a few issues and like kind of be a little bit of a buttress for him. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that's going to be like, Pam, like, you know, I love you. But that's probably going to be a lot of your issues with most of these guys, right? Because they're going to be complementarian. So yeah, I hear you, and I know why you would say that. For me, having a slightly different perspective on that, you know, like I'm not saying he's great on, you know, that particular issue, by the way, but when it comes to the gospel, heck yeah, I love RC. You guys, you can, like, for real, do you guys think so little of me? Some of you guys, like, back to orthodoxy. What a grifter. Holding us on to RC. Well, one, I gotta. That's how TV works. You know, I gotta get them back for that commercial break. What's gonna happen? But you guys know it was gonna be that way. I thought you were gonna throw RC under the bus for his friendship with J-Mac. I do think it's like, if he, like, I'll never know, right? Like, I'll never know what he would have thought of some of these things, so I'll never be able to be like, you know, oh, this is you know, bad, you know, affiliation or something like that. I'll never know. I would assume that he would have been someone to, you know, I don't know, just push back on some of those things. I would have thought that he would. No worries, Pam. You be you. You be you. We all love you being you. RC Sproul would never want to be on a Fresca can. Just saying. Yeah, what was it? It was Diet Coke, right? Like, that was his thing. What is up with that? You know, everyone knows that their pastor has like a favorite candy or like a favorite drink, or like they have like that thing, like a cigar or something like that. Why is it that everybody knows that about their pastor? And like pastor appreciation stuff, they're like, he loves Reese's. Let's like give him like 8 pounds of Reese's. Why is that a thing? It's so weird. Like that we just do that. And it's like, he loves Fresca. Let's put his face on the can. What? Denny Burke. You might not know who this guy is, but he's one of the guys for like the CBMOWG. Is that what it's called? So like the conservative whatever, or complementarian whatever thing. I really don't like this guy. Even though he skateboards. He doesn't look like a skateboarder, but he skateboards, and I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't like it. He is so, like, even if you have those points of view, he is so argumentative on Twitter, and he will find a way to bring back everything to that one issue. It just so happens to be the issue that his whole organization is about. That's how you do marketing. Tim Keller. All right. Like I want it to be clearly said, like I love Tim Keller. But I do have to put I'm sorry. You guys are probably like, you've done that joke 5 times, but still funny to me. I'm so sorry. I have young kids, okay? These things are funny to me for far too long because my kids laugh at it every time. So I do love him, but I want it clearly said that I don't agree with him on everything. And I would say, like, even though I'm going to put him in this category, it's not necessarily that I'm like his biggest fan ever or something. I just think he has done so much. So while like I've been benefited from his writings, I still wouldn't, like, if you gave me like a top 5 people of all time, like he's not going to be on that list for me, but he is Gospel Goat. If you don't put him in that category, I don't think you understand what he did. Like for church planting. All right. Acts 29. What do you know about Acts 29? Like, just what do you know about them? Well, you know that they're, about Mark Driscoll. Like that they're you know them for Darren Patrick. You know them for being like the young restless reform stuff. All right. That's what you probably think of Acts 29. When you think of Tim Keller and his church planting strategy, you think theology. I think theology. Like, and his organization has been incredibly influential in the world. He went to New York and he did ministry during 9/11 and helped the whole city. And he got popular. Guys, he wasn't writing books when he was 20 years old. He started writing books when he was like 51 or something. Like, that's when he started writing books. Tim Keller was not about the platform. All right. He loved Jesus and he lived faithfully and he wrote his theology. And it was a help to so many. And even though you may not agree with his politics, you may not agree with this particular thing or that particular thing, you cannot argue with the impact Tim Keller has had, not just on theology, but also philosophy. I cannot overstate how important he has been. So for me, he's up there, and I'm actually kind of getting emotional thinking about him being gone. Like, it's a bummer. It's a bummer that we don't have him. But yeah, Tony Evans. He's written so many books. Like, it's kind of crazy. That being said, not all his books are great. I've read some. I would put him in I. I don't have any big issues with Tony Evans. I know like he's probably friends with people that I wouldn't be friends with and whatever, but like nothing in his works, makes me think like, oh, he's dangerous or something like that. So I'd put him in I. I'll put Carl Trueman in I too. Carl Trueman, the one thing I will say is that he is he's kind of a conundrum, because one minute he's talking about like evangelicalism and like modern evangelicalism as if he's like outside of it or hasn't been a part of it. And it's like, guy, like you're not like some newcomer. Like there's like that, like he wrote something about like mega churches, and he was at some conference. Maybe it was TGC, maybe it was T4G. There's like this famous panel that he was a part of where it was kind of like he just was basically like critiquing the movement. And that was a long time ago. He's had a lot of impact, and still sometimes like I feel like he's got a little bit of that underdog in him, that he's just like, maybe it's because he's from far away or what, but he feels like he's on the outside. But like, let's all face it, Carl Trueman is an insider. He's Big Eva. All right. He's got a lot of influence, and his books have had a huge influence. So like, that's the only thing of like talking as if like you're not a part of the machine when you're a part of the machine. Like the same thing kind of with Russell Moore, far more with Russell Moore. But Truman is kind of there. Let's see. Someone put something. What was it? Someone asked me why I put someone in somewhere. Back to orthodoxy. How is Voddie dangerous? The fact that he will go on a platform and talk about Doug Wilson, who is a heretic, and promote him and speak at his conferences and cram ideologies into a text where there is none, and then act as if like that's exegetical work. No, that's dangerous to me. Like platforming heretics is pretty dangerous, I would say. That's my opinion. You don't have to share my opinion, but that's my opinion. You asked, you got your answer. All right. Craig Rochelle, used car salesman. This guy, he is like, for me, he's worse than Rick Warren. Like, this guy basically started doing online church to where like their churches, there's no real church going on. He is problematic, very problematic for me. His sermons are just such weak sauce, like motivational speaking. At least Stephen Furtick like deals with a text. All right. He doesn't deal with a text. This guy just gets up and says whatever he wants. And I think he is very problematic. And there's just an intensity about this dude that makes me go like, there's going to be, at some point, there's going to be something to that. Wayne Grudem. Nah, we'll finish up and like I got to deal with something, I think. Wayne Grudem is dangerous. Yeah, you heard me. You heard me. The guy who talks about eternal subordination of the Son. Yeah, he's dangerous. His theology book, I don't think, is a good reference that you should be using. Like, it's not to say he's not a nice guy. And he's not like he hasn't done things in the church that have been helpful. But his views on the eternal subordination of the Son is very close to heresy, if not heresy. So that's what I think about him. James White, I would put him at questionable. Probably a couple years ago, I just put him in, I'd put him at dangerous. A couple years ago, I probably would have put him at questionable. But lately, this guy just continues to just get into fight after fight after fight with people. He's very contentious. Everything he says is contentious. I just don't see, like, I mean, like, I get it. Some of you guys might be thinking like, Dean, you're pretty contentious. Maybe sometimes, maybe sometimes I should chill out a little bit. But I think James White has made it his entire platform to be contentious and to call out like people on dumb stuff. Like, it's one thing to call out people for, we deal with things when people are like throwing people under the bus, like throwing deconstructionists under the bus. They're talking poorly about church hurt. They're being flippant about this, or they're platforming, heretics, or, we talk about that kind of stuff. And this guy just like will just be a jerk to anybody, man. Like, I'm not going to put someone who's just like a jerk. Like I don't know him personally. This is just me observing. I've never been a fan of his. Okay. Like I've watched a couple episodes of Alpha and Omega, whatever his show. But like just observing from a distance, he's a very mean guy. And I think that's kind of problematic, right? But that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section about all these kinds of things. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me who I should add to another list. I got to go put this kid. I will be right back. Not right back. I'll be back on Monday. So sorry. I'm just like defaulting. I got things I got to do. All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye.